No one saw it coming, not even Bai Lu. When she walked into that quiet cafe and saw Miles, Wei and Shen Yue together, everything she believed about friendship and loyalty shattered in seconds. It started as just another quiet evening in the Kdrama circle, the kind of night when everyone seemed too busy with their projects to make headlines. But what happened that night between Shen Yue and Miles Wei has now become one of the most talked about moments in the entire entertainment industry. The story broke like a wave, first whispered through fan accounts, then confirmed by a source close to the production team. And at the center of it all was Bai Lu, completely unaware that her world was about to shift. According to those present, the atmosphere inside the studio was unusually heavy. Shen Yue had arrived quietly, her hair pulled back, her face serious yet soft. Miles Wei was already there, waiting by the corner table with a script in hand. At first glance, it looked like a regular meeting between co-stars, perhaps a discussion about their next project. But what no one expected was how personal the conversation would become. Shen Yue leaned closer, her tone quiet but loaded with emotion. "Do you ever regret what happened with Dylan?" she asked, her voice trembling just enough to show that this was not part of any rehearsal. Miles didn't respond immediately. He placed the script down and took a slow breath, the kind that hinted at the weight of untold stories. "Regret," he said finally. "Maybe. But I also think everything had to happen the way it did. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here now." The tension between them wasn't romantic at first glance, but there was something deeper, something unspoken. Their shared silence filled the room like a secret that both were afraid to uncover. And then, as if fate had planned the timing, the door opened. Bai Lu stepped in. She wasn't supposed to be there. Her presence was accidental, a coincidence born out of a sudden change in schedule. She entered with her phone in hand, talking to someone about an upcoming interview. But when she saw them, her voice stopped mid-sentence. The air froze. Shen Yue turned sharply, while Miles looked caught between guilt and confusion. "Am I interrupting something?" Bai Lu asked softly, though her eyes said more than her words ever could. Neither Shen Yue nor Miles answered immediately. The silence that followed was unbearable. For a moment, Bai Lu looked at Shen Yue, as if searching for an explanation, but none came. Instead, Shen Yue lowered her gaze, her hands clasping tightly together, trying to find the right words. "We were just talking," Shen Yue said eventually, her voice barely above a whisper. "About Dylan. About everything that's been happening." But the tone was off, too fragile, too uncertain. Miles Wei tried to step in, his expression firm but calm. "It's not what it looks like," he said. Yet the damage had already been done. Bai Lu's eyes glistened under the studio light. "Then what does it look like, Miles?" she asked. "Because right now, it looks like the two of you are hiding something." The next few minutes felt endless. Miles tried to explain, but Bai Lu wasn't listening anymore. Her mind was running through months of unanswered questions, messages left unread, and quiet shifts in behavior she had ignored. Shen Yue's involvement made it all worse. These were people she trusted, people she called friends. And now it seemed like the ground beneath her was falling apart. Outside the studio, the news had already begun to spread. Someone had seen Bai Lu enter. Someone else had caught a glimpse of the tension. Within hours, social media was flooded with speculations. Hashtags began trending, fans dissecting every possible meaning behind the meeting. Was Shen Yue confronting Miles about Dylan Wang? Was Bai Lu dragged into something bigger than she realized? By the next day, everyone was talking. Entertainment reporters described it as the most emotional moment of the year. Anonymous insiders revealed that this wasn't the first time Shen Yue and Miles had met in private. They had reportedly been in contact for weeks, discussing something related to Dylan's upcoming project, but also, something more personal. Something emotional. Bai Lu, meanwhile, stayed silent. She cancelled her next appearance, avoided interviews, and left fans wondering what she truly felt. But one thing was clear, her silence spoke louder than any statement ever could. A few days later, Shen Yue posted a cryptic message on her social media. Sometimes, the truth hurts more when it comes from someone you trust, she wrote. It was short, poetic, and devastatingly loaded. Within minutes, the internet exploded again. People speculated that the message was meant for Bai Lu. Others thought it was about Dylan. And a few believed it was a confession that things had gone too far. Miles Wei, on the other hand, took a different approach. He appeared in an interview looking composed but tired. When asked about the situation, he said, "People see what they want to see. Sometimes, what happens behind the camera isn't betrayal, it's understanding." That single line fueled even more discussions. What did he mean by understanding? Was there something Shen Yue had confessed? Something Bai Lu was never meant to find out? A source later revealed that the meeting had indeed been planned in secrecy, but not for reasons of romance. It was about a message left behind by Dylan Wang during one of his emotional interviews, a message that Shen Yue and Miles had both taken seriously. They were working on something to honor him, a surprise that Bai Lu wasn't aware of yet. When Bai Lu finally learned the truth, she reportedly broke down in tears. She had misunderstood everything. What she saw as betrayal was actually a moment of shared vulnerability, an attempt to bring closure to old emotions. In a private gathering days later, all three of them met again. There were tears, long silences, and eventually, forgiveness. The media, however, only saw the fragments, the tension, the confrontation, and the unspoken pain. But those who were close to them said it was one of the most powerful emotional resolutions they had ever witnessed. And so, what started as a rumor of betrayal became a story of healing. Bai Lu learned the truth. Shen Yue found peace. And Miles Wei, once caught in the middle, became the quiet bridge that reunited them all. Fans called it the storm that turned into light. For the first time, everyone saw not just the actors they loved, but the humans behind the screens, fragile, flawed, and real. The night ended with the three of them sitting together in silence, watching the city lights reflect in their eyes. There were no cameras, no scripts, no lines to memorize. Just honesty, forgiveness, and the quiet understanding that sometimes, even when the world misunderstands you, truth has a way of finding its light. The day after the meeting that left Bai Lu in silent disbelief, the air around the studio felt different. The usual chatter was gone, replaced by whispers that floated through the hallways like fragments of something forbidden. Every time Bai Lu walked by, people paused, eyes flickering with curiosity and fear. She pretended not to notice, but inside, her chest felt heavy, as if every glance carried another secret she wasn't meant to hear. That night, the wind was soft against the windows of her apartment. She sat by the window, looking down at the city lights that flickered like unspoken memories. Her phone buzzed once, a message from Shen Yue. It read only 3 words, "Can we talk?" Bai Lu stared at it for a long time before replying. Something in her heart told her that whatever came next would change everything between them. When Shen Yue arrived, she didn't knock right away. She stood outside the door, her eyes swollen from crying, her hand hovering as if afraid that knocking would make everything real. When Bai Lu finally opened the door, the silence between them spoke louder than anything either could say. They stood there, both trembling slightly, two people connected by years of friendship but divided by one moment neither could take back. Was it true? Bai Lu finally asked, her voice low but steady. Did you really meet him behind my back? Shen Yue didn't answer immediately. Her eyes darted to the floor. It wasn't what you think, she whispered. Then tell me what it was, Bai Lu said, her tone rising slightly, though her expression stayed calm. Because right now, it looks like the two people I trusted most were keeping something from me. Shen Yue walked in slowly, setting her bag down. Miles reached out to me first, she said, barely above a whisper. He said he needed to talk about something that happened between you and Dylan. At the sound of Dylan's name, Bai Lu froze. It felt like time had folded back, like an old wound had been pulled open again. Dylan Wang, the one she hadn't spoken to in months. The one she had once believed was her safe place, until everything crumbled under the weight of secrets and half-truths. What about Dylan? Bai Lu asked, her voice now shaking. Shen Yue hesitated. He said Dylan never stopped thinking about you. That there were things left unsaid. Miles thought he could help clear it up before it turned into something worse. Bai Lu let out a bitter laugh. So he thought a secret meeting with you was the best way to fix it? To hide it from me instead of talking to me? Shen Yue's eyes glistened. I didn't mean to hide it. I thought I could help without making it worse. But the moment you walked in that day, I knew I'd already lost your trust. The air between them trembled with emotion. Bai Lu turned away, her hands clenched, her heart pounding with too many emotions to name: anger, sadness, betrayal, confusion. She remembered the way Miles had looked at her that day, the way he hesitated to speak, how Shen Yue's eyes refused to meet hers. But now it all made sense. The silence wasn't guilt, it was protection. They weren't hiding something from her, they were protecting her from something deeper. What was Dylan planning? Bai Lu finally asked, her voice softer now. Shen Yue looked up slowly. He was going to come back. To see you. But Miles found out something he didn't want you to face alone. Dylan had signed another project overseas. He wasn't coming back for good. He just wanted closure. Bai Lu's knees weakened as she sank onto the couch. The thought of Dylan coming back just to say goodbye was almost unbearable. The quiet memories of him, the way he smiled, the way his laughter filled every space, came rushing back all at once. She pressed her hand against her chest, fighting the ache that rose inside her. So all of this, she whispered, was to protect me from one more heartbreak. Shen Yue nodded silently. Tears filled her eyes. I didn't want you to find out like this. I wanted to tell you after we were sure. But then you saw us, and everything fell apart before we could explain. For a long moment, neither spoke. The room felt heavy, but something was shifting, a slow release, as if the truth was finally letting both of them breathe again. Then, from the table, Bai Lu's phone buzzed again. It was a video message, from Miles Wei. She hesitated before opening it, but something inside her told her she needed to hear it. Miles appeared on the screen, his face tired but calm. If you're watching this, he began, then you already know everything. I never meant for it to go this way. I just couldn't watch you get hurt again. Shen Yue didn't betray you, she was trying to save you from the same pain Dylan left behind. You deserve peace, Bai Lu, not another goodbye. The video ended with Miles looking away, his expression unreadable. But in that silence, Bai Lu understood. Every secret, every hidden meeting, every uneasy glance, it had all been for her. Not against her. Shen Yue moved closer and placed a trembling hand over Bai Lu's. We only wanted you to heal, she whispered. Bai Lu closed her eyes, tears streaming down her cheeks. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel angry. Just tired. Tired of running from the truth, tired of pretending that the past didn't still linger like a shadow in every corner of her life. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm. I forgive you, she said. Both of you. But I need time. I need to remember who I was before all of this. The next morning, she packed a small bag and left the city quietly. No cameras, no noise. Just her and the open road. As she drove past the fading skyline, a small smile appeared on her lips. She didn't know where she was heading, maybe somewhere by the sea, somewhere quiet where she could finally breathe. Meanwhile, back in the city, Shen Yue and Miles sat together, watching the same sunrise that Bai Lu was seeing from miles away. None of them spoke, but they all knew, this was not an ending. It was the calm after a long storm, the quiet peace that follows truth. The world may still talk, the rumors may still spin, but deep down, each of them carried the same unspoken thought, that sometimes, love doesn't end in promises or forever. Sometimes, it ends in understanding. And that, in the silence of dawn, was more powerful than any words they could ever say.